Hello everyone and welcome back to 40k Teams. This video is going to be a little different from my weekly meta report. We've just had the data slate drop. Everyone's super excited, including myself, and I wanted to just go over some of the things that have crossed my mind about the data slate for my personal faction. So I won't be covering everything. There's plenty of YouTube channels out there which will provide you great updates on what they think about the data slate as a whole, including the points and how it changes the meta and the armies. So be sure to check those channels out, like Art of War, Fireside Podcast. They're ones I follow. They have great information. So what I wanted to do today was just focus on my factions, some of the ideas I have following the changes, where I think they fit in teams, and a list that I've built for them going forward. Now take the list and stuff with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because while I have played these factions extensively and I've tested a few variations of these lists, I have no clue how they'll perform in the meta. So it could just be a fun thing for you to try out, and I'm always welcome to feedback on my lists that I post here, so be sure to drop a comment if you have any thoughts. So let's get into my three factions and I'll talk a little bit about them. So here are my main three factions, I would say probably in order of relevance. At heart, I am a Sisters player. I've only been playing them actually for about a year and a half now. I started last January with the Index. I was listening to Nick Nanavati talk about them and Victor J in a podcast, and Victor J said Sisters are basically the Imperium's version of Eldar, and I was an Eldari player 9th edition. I really didn't like Eldari in the Index. I felt like it didn't have the soul of what Eldari was as a faction, so I picked up Sisters. Before then I was playing Leagues of Votann exclusively, and yeah, Sisters were great. I loved the kind of power armor horde concept. We're going to be exploring that later on in the video. So Sisters are my main faction. That's probably what I'll be returning to now with the slate dropped. Next up is Eldari. I've kind of alluded to in my previous videos that Harlequins are something I've been experimenting with recently. But before I was playing Harlequins, I was actually playing Warhost. And we're going to talk about Warhost in the video later on in the video when we get to the Eldari section. I've got some ideas for that. It's a bit memey, but who knows? Maybe it's good. And last but not least is Leagues of Votann. Now, the real sad thing about Leagues of Votann is that they've been in Index Purgatory for a very long time. And I was really hoping that the Grotmus detachment would actually offer something competitive for them to do other than Oathband. Now, Oathband is a fantastic detachment. It has loads of tools. It can defend really well. It can be a really good champion. But we've been playing it for a long time. And while Halfband at first glance looks a bit crap, I did have a chance to play it this week, and the reason I played it was because I knew a slate was coming, and I thought, you know what, I'm having a casual game, I'll give it a go, and I haven't played it at all. So, you know, I looked at the detachment when it came out in Grotmus, I thought, nah, this looks bad, I'm not going to play it, and now, 6 months later, here I am playing it and going, hang on, maybe there's something here. So we'll take a look at that as well. Alright, so Adepta Sororitas, let's have a look at what changed. Now, there have been some really positive changes with the points, and there's been some very positive change with the data slate changes. I do think there's some misses here, but I don't want to be too negative because there are some exciting things for me to explore. So looking at the points first, Castigator's going down to 160. Great. Castigators were overcosted. I know they had a negative effect on the meta with Bring Us a Flame and all that nonsense, but at the end of the day, a Castigator is still a Predator. It has a great ability, don't get me wrong, but as far as output is concerned, it's about the same as a Predator in my opinion. Immolators come down 10, again, really good change. Immolators are 115 in Agents. Imperial Knights have been using them a lot recently, and I think they should be the same cost. Great. Junif coming down 10 is interesting. I think Junif was already pretty good. She definitely proved more valuable towards the back end of this year. I've been using her a lot in my lists to either generate CP for offensive plays or to cycle cards. There was a rumor that all CP generation was going to be leadership checked, which she has already built into her datasheet, but she also had the added benefit of discarding the miracle dice, and if that was the case, Junif would have become the best CP generator in the game, but that didn't happen. So Junif, really good, minus 10 points, fantastic. Paragon Warsuits come down 10 points, always a good change. Happy to see it. I'm not big into Paragon Warsuits in the Val combo, but I do see with the way the game's going with all the power creep that they're going to become more relevant. What I actually would have preferred is Val become 210 points and Paragon Warsuits become 170. And that's exactly what they did in the index, and it was a really good change. So maybe we'll see that in the future, and that's what I'm hoping for. Repentia. Yeah, this is not enough. One major change that needed to happen in the data slate to make this even considered was the Penitent Host rule activated in the command phase, much like they changed for the WAR. They didn't do that. I don't see Penitent Host being that competitive. Retributors at minus 10 points. Now I'm going to talk about Retributors' data slate change in combination with their points change. So 115 points, you still only get 5 gills. You get a cherub. You get like a melter pistol, 4 multi-melters, 4 heavy bolters, or 4 heavy flamers. They now have reroll 1s to hit, and they already had reroll 1s to wound. So one of the problems Retributors had was they hit on 4s. So you need to put a Canoness in there with a rod of office to give them reroll 1 to make them more consistent. So they have that consistency built in a little bit. They still have the weird rule that if something's destroyed, you get like a judgment token. I think they should have just got rid of that. Honestly, for me, they should have just given them the Eradicator rule and the Fire Dragon rule. That's basically what they are. I don't know if this is enough of a change to get me to use them. But I'm in the Sisters Discord, so I'll keep an eye on things, and we'll see if anyone's had any success with them. Seraphim minus 5 points, fantastic. Love Seraphim. They felt a bit too expensive. I always generally bring one or two units. Having them at a minus 5 point cost is great. Triumph of St. Catherine down 15. Still not enough to bring her. Now, she does generate an auto 6, but it's your battle round dice. It's not an additional dice. I would have put her at 190, and I would have taken her. But a 150. 235 for her, it's not enough. I'm stumbling here trying to think why minus 15 would be enticing at all for us to take that. So Triumph of St. Catherine, not interested. On to the data slate changes. So this is where things get really cool. So they've actually changed Champions of Faith's detachment rule that you select up to 3 units, including units embarked within transports. This is really important. And until the start of your next command phase, those units are righteous. So when a unit is righteous, they get +1 to move, they get +1 to hit, and they get another ability. Let me just quickly check. I haven't played much of this attachment, I'm going to be honest. I thought Army of Faith was better, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So yeah, they get +1 to move, +1 leadership, and they get +1 to the weapon skill and ballistic skill of Battle Sisters, Sacrosancts, and Warsuits. So really strong. Before you had to discard a miracle dice per unit that you made righteous, and with the miracle dice pool being reduced, it wasn't worth it, because you're spending miracle dice not only for your hits and your wounds and your damage and all that, but with Sacrosancts you're probably spending miracle dice for your resurrections with the Hospitaller. I really struggle saying that. I know that word for some reason. And yeah, so this is an amazing change. I've been playing 30 Sacrosancts in Army of Faith for quite some time. I played it in this window of my team league. I played Army of Faith because I wanted to be able to reliably give them Lance and +1 AP on the mace skills. And I didn't like there was a condition and a hoop I had to jump through to give them +1 strength and +1 AP with the Champions of Faith stratagem. But now that I don't have to jump through that hoop, and my Sacrosancts are +2 OC each with hitting on 2s and +1 moves, they move 7. This is amazing. Honestly, I cannot wait to play Champions of Faith, and this is what I'll be doing. Now, we talked about the Retributor change already. Zephyrim didn't get a points deduction. They are still 80 points, so the same cost as Seraphim, but they did get a change, two big changes to their rules. So the first big change to consider is their ability applies to melee weapons, which means that the jump pack Canoness also benefits from these abilities. So a Smash Cannoness with a Blessed Halberd, which is 5/2/2 Dev, Strength 5, 2 damage, AP 2, 5 attacks, Dev Wounds, with plus 3 attacks once per game, with sustained and lethal, could be very, very powerful. Now, that's not something I'm going to try straight away, but I think that's something that gives Army of Faith and the option to run a little skirmishing package to run around and cause problems. It comes up about to 155 points. I think that's really, really good. Also, they don't need to discard a miracle dice to get both of the benefits. So in the previous version, you would charge, you would get either sustained or lethal, and if you discard a miracle dice, you get both. So again, removing that tax of miracle dice. So these are really positive changes. There are a couple of misses, which is unfortunate, but it's not enough of a miss for me to not be excited about Sisters going forward. So let's take a look at what I think Sisters' roles will be in teams. Like I said, take it all with a pinch of salt. We're not going to know for certain how they'll adapt into the team's meta, but I have some ideas. Okay, so here are some potential roles that Sisters could play in teams. I've done the colour code like I would with the scores. So greens would be a win, blue would be a draw, red would be a loss. I'm going to use the kind of same colour system, whereas I think green are strong, blue I'm unsure, and red I just don't think are good at all. Now, this is just initial thoughts. This is not set in stone. I can have my mind changed, and I hope my mind are changed on some of these. So looking at the attacker role first, I don't think Sisters is a massive attacker, but with Champions of Faith, I do feel if they're protected, they could really bully some matchups, because the durability of Sacrosanct of Hospitaller is really obnoxious, and combined with OC2, some ways to punch up with damage. You can give your Warsuits one additional move, then you could give them sustained. I think there's a lot of opportunity for a very tuned Sisters list to attack. Now, whether Sisters' best role is as an attacker, that's yet to be seen, and we probably won't see that until someone actually puts that in a team, and that's their role within the team. I think a lot of Sisters' roles within the team will be in the greens, which I have down there, but I would really like to see Champion's Faith as a protected attacker, really bullying matchups that can't kill Sacrosancts efficiently and stealing primary with high OC, and Sisters have always had like tools to play the secondary missions really well. So Champions of Faith as an attacker right now is blue for me, but I could be convinced as a green if someone were to take him as an attacker. That probably won't be me, because I naturally play a defender or blunter, but who knows, maybe I'll give it a go. Now, Penitent Host had some buffs in the Repentia, but I still don't think it's enough, so I've put them as a red here. Penitent Host wants to attack, it wants to be protected. It still has potential, like a great pilot will do great things with it, but I don't think it has the same potential as Champions of Faith. Defenders, now this has been where Sisters has been its strongest. I'm going to put Defender and Blunter together here. Hallowed Martyrs, I still think is going to be an amazing defender. They've got great tricks, resurrecting characters, so forcing 2 phases of activations to kill a character on an objective. They've got like heroic and taunt, as I call it, through suffering sacrifices the enhancement. So you heroically intervene, you'll spend 1 CP, everything within engagement range has to attack that target. So you can use a Demonifuge, you can like rapid ingress a Demonifuge, heroic for free, make you fight her, and then she has fight first. Really powerful against the melee matchups. World Eaters are going to be popular, Dark Angels are probably going to be popular, CSM is still popular, lots of opportunities there to hit that. Arcos are still great, so with reroll hits and stuff. There's Hallowed Martyrs only got buffs, so it's going to be great. And they had kind of a ninja buff before this slate. So beforehand, you had to discard a miracle dice to activate the resurrection of a character. They removed that. So in the index, you didn't have to do that, and they changed it back to the index variant, which is great. So Hallowed Martyrs is going to be great. Champions of Faith, I think it's going to be a really good defender and blunter, just because of the high OC, just because of the obnoxious durability of Sacrosancts. I think they have a lot of potential. It's kind of the same thing with the attacker. I think if you give champs a matchup where it can bully your opponent, it can probably get a good score. But if you give champs a more middling to bad matchup, because of the high OC and the ability to play quite cagey and have a hammer unit like Val to like deter your opponent from being too aggressive, they have a really good opportunity to blunt and defend. Last but not least, we have Bringers of Flame. I've got this as a blue as well. With some points reductions on the vehicles and the paragons, is maybe an opportunity for a vehicle skew for Bringers of Flame. Now, the rules are still nerfed, unfortunately. However, I was tempted to experiment with a very hard vehicle skew on Bringers, but with armigers. Now, armigers are subject to change soon because we have a codex coming out, but a 130 for Helverns, that's really good value. With strips cover and +1 AP, we've seen Imperial Knights making use of the Immolator. I think there's some potential there. It's probably something I'm not going to experiment too heavily with. I did play the vehicle skew Bringers of Flame at the height of its power, and I hated every moment of it, which is probably why I haven't pulled the trigger on trying that detachment. So yeah, I think Sisters has loads of potential going into teams. Definitely check them out in your composition. If you have a Sisters player, make them happy, let them take Sisters, and see what they're capable of. So let's take a look at a list I've cooked up. I've called it a Defender, but maybe it could attack, who knows, as we discussed in the previous slide. So the main concept here is obviously the Sacrosancts. You get 30 of them with the Hospitalers. They've got OC2, give them all maces. They can get +1 strength, +1 AP, +1 move, +1 leadership, -1 to hit. Like, they're a really annoying bully unit that bullies primary, ties up units, be really durable. You can resurrect stuff onto objectives. There's so much utility in these Sacrosancts, and I've been loving them in Army of Faith, using them more aggressively, but also having access to that -1 to hit with the Army of Faith stratagem. Now they get +2 OC, now they get +1 to move. They're even better. So that is the core of the list. You're going to bully primary, you're going to send these things and make them really annoying for your opponent to deal with. Meanwhile, you'll have Morven Val and the Paragon Warsuits keeping your opponent honest. This unit, with +1 move, +1 ballistic skill and weapon skill, and the access to sustained or lethal with full rerolls to hit, is going to delete everything. And that threat in a meta that is going to potentially become more stat checky, especially with Knight's books coming along, especially with the power creep of the Death Guard Codex, is going to offer a really good unit to stop your opponent from disrespecting you, but also a unit that you can activate on multiple turns, protected by Sacrosancts. So you can use your Sacrosancts and some of your faster moving units like your Seraphim and your Zephyrim to move, block, and tie up key pieces from your opponent that want to kill these warsuits, and then they can just go ham and they can just start murdering everything. So much potential in this attachment for Paragons. They're already very good, but once you can up their output and up their movement and their reliability to hit, I think they become even more deadly. Junith, providing CP, a good screen, fairly durable for what she is. Just a super reliable piece to have. I've used them more as time has gone on to cycle cards or have access to the stratagems I need when I need them. So let's take a look at the two other characters I've added here. Now, taking into consideration that all melee weapons are now affected by the Zephyrim buff, there is an opportunity here to put a Canoness in the Zephyrim squad. I've actually opted to keep the Canoness solo, so I've been playing the Jump Pack Canoness with the Flamer and the Power Weapon solo for quite some time now. In Army of Faith, it's really good because you can pick them up, but they also have other uses outside of that. So you get to throw a grenade for free, which is great. The Hand Flamer provides D6 shots, which can help clear chaff, and then the charge from the Power Sword with her ability will also help clear chaff. It's a 1 model 32mm base. It's very good for deep striking and going into the backfield and doing actions. It's fast if you want to keep it on the board. It moves 12 inches. It's got a small footprint. I think there's a lot of utility in this character. It offers opportunities to clear screens, an opportunity to play the mission, and, you know, just provide an annoying little bug that's swarming around your opponent that they kind of have to deal with, because if you don't, it's just going to score your points or clear screens. So that's why I've kept her with the Flamer and the Power Weapon, and she won't be joining the Seraphim or the Zephyrim. Now, this combo I'm not entirely sure about, but I'd be willing to try it out because I haven't tried it. So the Palatine will go with 5 of the Novitiates split by the Immolator. So 5 of those Novitiates are going to hold the home objective and generate Miracle Dice on a 4-up, and then the other half of the Novitiates will provide rerolls to the Palatine. With Mark of Devotion, I believe it's +2 attacks or +2 strength. I will double check because I'm not super certain on the rules for champions yet. So it's gonna be +2 attacks while they're right. So +1 attack if normally, and then if you're righteous, +2 attacks, +1 damage, and that's it. So that's really good. That's in the melee. A bit like through Suffering and Sacrifice from Hallowed Martyrs. The biggest change here, though, to encourage me to take this is being able to make this unit righteous while it's within a transport. So I don't have to expose the unit to set it up to get all the benefits of being righteous. So really, really cool combo. A little on the pricey side, but we'll see. It just gives that melee punch with high OC. We then have the 2 variants of Jump Pack Guilds. So we have Seraphim, Love Seraphim, Move Fast, Move Shoot Move, offer a screen, offer a move block, offer a bit of chaff clearing, or they can score points. Great. Seraphim. Now, when I first saw the changes to Seraphim, I wasn't sure. But I then compared it to what other units I would take to do its job. So I've been running the Penitent engines as kind of a chaff clearing action monkey, and I've been running it a Canoness with Jump Pack. I do think Seraphim with their new ability have the potential to replace either the Jump Pack Canoness or the Penitent engine. I usually run at least 1 of each or maybe 2 of each, so I've decided to go for a Zephyrim instead of the Penitent engine. So I'm going to have to test how well they clear the chaff, but with Sustained and Lethal, maybe they will. So that's something to test. Double Castigator, add a pip of AP for those Paragons, have a pip of AP for the other Castigator. Quite a good rapid ingress target on certain boards. I play WTC, it can be a bit harder for me to do that, but providing that long range firepower to keep your opponent honest. And then we have the transport. So Immolator is great. It's going to split up the Palatine and the Novitiates, going to provide strip and cover, and then 2 Rhinos. 1 Rhino I'll probably push aggressively onto my expansion, dump the girls out, and then the Rhino can run around and do actions and be annoying, and then maybe use another Rhino to funnel the first load of Sacrosancts that's going to attack the middle, or use it to attack my opponent's expansion. So this is the idea. I'll give this a go on Friday at my club night, and yeah, I'm really excited to see how strong Sisters are with these changes. Moving on to Aeldari. So this won't be as extensive as Sisters because I'm planning to shelve Aeldari for a little while. I do want to keep playing Harlequins, so I will keep bringing them out to brush up on them. But yeah, there's some pretty good changes, even though there's been nerfs here. I'll just go through these quickly because I think they're fairly obvious. Like Autox and Banshees as a combo is really strong. I feel they were falling off a little bit in my meta, but they're still a really strong combo. So those going up in 10 points makes sense. The 5-man Fire Dragons going up 10 points as well makes a lot of sense. They're really strong. They are a bit frustrating, Fire Dragons, for me, because I've been saying when discussing my Harlequins list with my teammates that I feel like I have a Fire Dragon tax because there's no other anti-tank options, which brings us to the Fire Prisms going down in points. Now, I don't know if minus 10 points is enough. I do own free Fire Prisms, so I will give them a go at some point. But I do hope they offer an alternative to Fire Dragons when it comes to anti-tank. Shining Spears going down 10 points is cute. Warwalkers going down 10 points is cute. Warlock Conclave going up 20 points for the 4-man. No surprise there. Warlock Conclaves are very, very good. And they probably needed a points buff. Points nerf even, sorry. The Yinkan going up 10 points, fine, it's pretty good. The Archon going up 10 points, I think that's just to sync up with the Autarch. It's fine. Like, I think the Archon had fallen off in Ynnari anyway. So, yeah, that's a change. That's just syncing up with the Autarch. And the Incubi going up 10 points as well. So, some positive changes, I think, for the state of Eldar. I would have liked to see more buffs on some of the underrepresented units. I'd like to see Scorpions go back down. I have no idea why they went up. And maybe some other units could have got some love, but yeah, that's fine. So the data slate changes all Ynnari focused. Basically, they don't get their 21-inch move with a aspect token. Sorry, a battle focus token. When something dies, there's some conditions here, so you have to be within 6 inches of the destroyed unit, and they can make a normal move with D6+1. That is actually quite a substantial nerf, and a much needed one. And finally, they did nerf Yvraine. She used to give you full rerolls to wound, which was absolutely cracked. Now she gets rerolls of 1, so she has been tamed quite a bit. I still think Ynnari have a lot of legs. I don't think they're going to be as strong as they were, but the stratagems are still really good. The Ynnari units are still really good. It'd be interesting to see if people just abandon Ynnari now, and I think a lot of people will, and they'll pivot to some of the factions that we're going to talk about when it comes to team compositions. Alright, so some potential roles and pivots for Ynnari players. Now, I haven't added Ynnari to this list because I think a lot of people are going to leave them behind, but I still think Ynnari has a lot of potential. What that potential is, I don't know. I haven't played them in such a long time because I didn't like the gotcha aspect of them. So, yeah, maybe I'll return to them in the future. I was a Ynnari player in 9th as well, but for now, Sisters is on the cards, and Ghosts of the Webway. Ghosts of the Webway I have loved playing, and I still want to continue playing them. And looking at potential roles here as an attacker, I feel Ghosts has a lot of potential. We saw Nick Nanavati perform really well at, it wasn't the Bug Eater. Oh, the name escapes me. It's in one of my previous videos. I do apologise, but he performed really well at his last team event. Seer Council has a lot of hype around it. There's a Baharov combo where you play Baharov with 10 Hawks, you drop them down, you kind of like daisy chain them to a Psyker, you do their grenade ability, and then you pick them back up. And then you get to reposition them with the teleport. So there's a lot of potential in that. I tried a list that solely focused on that combo for the teleport and then played like Hyper MSU. It wasn't great, but I think maybe with some refinement and some reps, it could be better. As a defender, I think Eldar are a bit weird. I don't know if they have a lot of potential, and that's why I've got Guardian Battlehost as blue. I think Guardian Battlehost has a few legs. Conclaves went up, which is a bit unfortunate. I don't know if the Warwalker change is going to be enough to influence them. Maybe people will find a way to play them as defenders, but I do feel like Eldari's strength is being protected and being an attacker. And when you don't protect Eldar, things can get really bad really quickly. Same with Spirit Conclave. It's one of the meatier Eldari detachments, having access to like -1 damage and stuff like that, but Wraiths didn't get any buffs, so I put it as red because I don't think you'd even consider it. And finally, we're going to look at a skew, which is Warhost. Now, there has been a Warhost, I'm going to call it a skew kind of loosely here because this has been represented in singles in Poland, and I've been keeping an eye on a few players who've been playing Warhost, Duda being one of them, and they've been performing really well. So we're going to take a look at a skew variant of Warhost and taking some of the ideas from the Polish players. Okay, so the main concept of this is to hunt vehicles and elite. And these are not my ideas. I have played a lot of Warhost in the last few months. We didn't have much team stuff going on, so I focused on making a Warhost singles list. So I do have some experience of how it plays. Not with this list specifically, but I have run 10 Fire Dragons with Fugan, and I've had middling results with them. But I feel there's an opportunity here for Eldar to hunt certain matchups. So vehicles, would be really good. We might see the return of Ironstorm with Space Wolves. Knights will become more popular if their codexes are good. Mortarion's Hammer vehicle skew for Death Guard. So there could be good targets for a Warhost skew to go after. So the list has Eldar to provide you CP. It's a very CP hungry detachment because you basically want 10 fire dragons to pop out with Fugan and use Skyborn Sanctuary, which allows you to get back in a transport, and then 10 fire dragons to get out with the Autarch, and then for free using the captain's ability to reactive move after they shoot back into the transport. So you're trying your best not to trade with these high damaging vehicle hunting units, and you basically kill 2 vehicles, they don't kill you back, and so on, and you just repeat that as much as possible. I've added some personal favourites of mine. So I've added the Void Reavers. They'll likely sit on the backfield objective unless I can't infiltrate with Rangers very well, and then Rangers will take their place. So you can basically alternate between those two based on your matchup. If Rangers are no use, they hold your backfield, you get a good scout off with high OC, maybe set a points denial for later or do an action or something like that, or you swap it around so you get a good infiltrate, they get to deny a scout, or they get to move block or score points or whatever. Warlock Skyrun at 45 points, can't believe that didn't get touched. A very fast mission playing piece, really good for 45 points, don't leave home without them. 5 Warp Spiders, offers good move block, good screening, good anti-infantry shots, including a good overwatch threat, and good scoring. You can get into your opponent's backfield behind enemy lines, do established locus, stuff like that. Wave Serpents to hold the fire dragons, which we talk about. 5 Dark Reapers with Tempest launchers. I love these. They're fantastic. They offer a really good anti-elite threat from range. The Tempest launchers can chip away at annoying screens or kind of weak backfield holders, and yeah, they're just really good for their points. And I tend to clump them all together in one spot, and they can shoot down one angle, and then they can push up once you start taking control of the board. And then finally, the Spice, the Fire Prisms, adding 3 of these, going really hard into that skew, going to hunt those tanks, hunt those vehicles. Triple Fire Prism, double Fire Dragons. Now this list could be absolutely terrible, but I wanted to provide you an idea of how to skew, and I gave you some reasons of why something like this, maybe not this exact list, but maybe something around the concept of 20 Fire Dragons could be important in teams in the future, with Knights making their return, with Morty's Hammer, with Ironstorm, Space Wolves. So there's maybe an option here, but like I said, take it with a pinch of salt. This is more just for fun and just kind of theory crafting on how Warhost and a skew version of this list could be helpful. And last but not least, we have Leagues of Votann in Index Purgatory. There have been 2 changes here. They're basically the same change, but on 2 different units. The Brokier Ironmaster and the Grimnir now don't have their little ecogs count as models inside a transport. Now, it doesn't seem like a huge change. It does have some application. So now an Ironmaster with 3 Thunderkin could go inside a land fortress, which is pretty cool. But what I think is actually probably more important, and I think I say more important loosely because I think Leagues of Votann is so stuck in Purgatory for the Index, and they're so figured out, I don't think this is going to make a difference, but it might make a difference in the Codex. Now that you don't need to take up transport capacity with the ECOGs and the Covir models, it does provide an opportunity to put a Grimnir solo or an Ironmaster solo within a Sagittar. Now, this gives a bit of movement for the Ironmaster to set up in positions where it can heal land forts or maybe heal Sagis. But on another note, it does give the opportunity for Grimnirs to become good mission playing pieces. They're not super easy to kill, and in the Oathband attachment, you can actually give them a resurrection enhancement, which makes them even annoying. So I think there's some opportunity here to get an additional scoring piece at 65 points each. However, like I said, the index has been out so long and it's so figured out, I'm not sure if that's going to make a difference. So just a quick overview of roles. Again, I don't think this has changed much. Oathband is a great defender. Tim Schneider's list is a great champion. A really good take all comers. Leave me till last. I'll fight anything boss and get a good score. But Tim Schneider has like 500 reps on his list, so there's no surprise. And it did really well at a team league just gone in my previous video. I didn't cover the list, but they were one of the... It might have been Bug Eater or it might have been Alpine, but... the best performing player was Tim Schneider's list, piloted by someone else. But finally, the skew. So I wrote off Earthband, and I've played it now. Only one game. I don't know if it's great, but there's maybe an opportunity to skew here. I know that Greg Chamberlain ran it at an event, a team event recently. It might have been Home Nations, and did pretty good with it. And Greg's probably the best Votann player in the UK in terms of results, so maybe there's something there, but I do think Votann need a codex before we're going to see anything too spicy. But I'll show you the list that I played and kind of the idea behind it. So I played this list in a really casual game against my mate who was playing Death Guard. We didn't really have any set terrain layout, so it wasn't GDub, WTC or UKTC. It was kind of a mishmash of kind of UKTC, mishmash of UKTC layout with what terrain they had to offer. But yeah, I took this for fun. He took the Deathlord's Chosen detachment, which is the Terminator detachment for Death Guard, and we had a Terminator off. And I've played that detachment on TTS just for a laugh, and it was fine. It wasn't great, but it was fun. So we have Ufar, 2 Karls, and then we have Ufar on a 5-man in a land fort with Volkite, and then we have the 2 Karls with Plasma. We have Halfkin with kin weapons to get split by the Sagi. We have another land fort which holds 5 Berserks and an Iron Master. So I had additional Berserks in this list, but I decided to add the Grimnir and the Iron Master just for the concept. And then we had the Grimnir goes to Nasagi on her own as a solo mission playing piece, and I had 3 Pioneers as mission play. So bit of mission play, and then you have these 3 hammer unit. Well, I say 3. We have 2 hammer units and 1 skirmishing unit. The Hearthguard with the Volkite get reroll wounds out of the land fort for the Volkites to get death wounds. And then the Halfguard go for either 6-inch deep strikes or rapid ingresses, and then tries to get the rapid fire on their plasmas. So pretty simple list, hyper elite, probably not very competitive, but it was fun to play, and I might revisit it at the end of this slate when I get bored again. But you know me, I'm looking really forward to Champions of Faith, so that's going to be my focus. And that concludes this video. It's probably quite long, actually. It's probably in the 30-minute range. I know I've kind of waffled on a bit about my factions or what I think of them, but I hope it's been really helpful for you. I'm really excited about this slate. I cannot wait to play Champions Faith in teams and see how they perform. Maybe I can attack. Who knows? I just want to say thank you very much to everyone who's commented, who's liked, and who's subscribed. We are actually 8 subscribers away from 100. I was going to do this video for when we got 100 subscribers, but I had all these thoughts and I just wanted to get them down on the video. So here we are. So if you like this content and you think anyone would benefit from it, be it my meta reports or this video in particular, I'd really appreciate you sharing this with your friends, and then maybe they will find something useful here. The whole point of this channel is to be informative, and I'm trying my best with my own thoughts here on the factions and my thoughts on how team compositions work, and you know, the list that I used in team events coming out. I will have my usual video come out either Monday or Tuesday covering this weekend's team tournaments. They will be on the old slate, so they probably won't be as fun. But after next week and the following weekend, we'll see some spice. So I can't wait for that. So until next time, guys, take care and thank you very much for supporting the channel. And I'll see you next week with the next meta report.